Dear students, very good morning to all of you. In today's topic for the discussion, I have chosen financial devolution to the states by the center and the state of fiscal federalism in India. Dear students, let me put the issue in the context. In the recent weeks that have been gone by, one could have witnessed that the leaders from the southern Indian states have come to protest against the central government, stating that the central government has been prejudicial and biased and showing partiality in allocating the tax revenue to the southern states, as they say that they did not receive their entitlement as they are supposed to deserve. So, let us understand little detailing. Here, what is the divisive pool of tax? What is the divisive pool of tax revenue? Dear students, there are certain taxes collected by the central government and there are some certain taxes collected by the state governments. But the taxes collected by the central government are supposed to be shared between the center and the states. What all the taxes are to be collected and shared by the center with their state counterparts? 1. Corporate income tax. 2. Personal income tax. 3. Central GST. And 4. Interstate GST. Right? So these net tax revenue are supposed to be shared with the states by the center. And it is specified under Article 270. On what basis it should share and what proportion of the net tax revenue should be shared with the states by the center is fully based on the recommendations of the Finance Commission. There are principles laid down. Dear students, the states not only receive the share of the net tax revenue from the center, but also essentially they receive the grant and aid from the center under Article 275. Now, let me come to the second point. What is the role of Finance Commission and how is it constituted? Under Article 280, for every 5 years, the Finance Commission is supposed to be constituted by the Union Government, and the chairman and the 4 members have to be appointed by the President of India, which is specified under Article 280. Now, the 16th Finance Commission has been announced to be constituted for the period of 2026 to 2031 under the chairmanship of Aravind Panagariya. Right? Now, they lay down the principles and the formula have the net tax revenue of the central government should be shared between the center and the states, and also between the states. And on what basis the grant in aid should be given to the states by the center. So there are principles and the formulas laid down by the Finance Commission. So now, what is the basis for the devolution of the tax revenues to the states by the center. So how does the center allocate the net tax revenue with the states, right? So we have already seen 15 finance commissions and their recommendations. And the 15th Finance Commission has laid down 5 criteria based on which the tax revenues of the center should be shared with the states. Between the states and the center, the central government must share its net tax revenue with the states based on these 5 criteria. 1. The income distance of the state in relation to the per capita income of the state. For instance, if the per capita income of the state is lower in comparison to the aggregate income of the state, then to ensure equity, that particular state will be provided more tax revenue from the center. Right? Number 2 is the population. So, the state which has more population will be given more tax revenue in order to, meet the requirements of the population over there. Number 3, forest and ecology. Due to the density of the forest or forest coverage of the state, and also to protect the ecosystem in the states having more forest cover would be given more tax revenue by the center. Number 4, demographic performance. The state which performs better on the demographic aspect, that is, if the state has the ability to contain the population growth, then that state would be rewarded with more tax revenue by this center, right? Then the last one, the efficient tax collection and industrialization of the state would be considered for the tax revenue shared by the center with the states. That means the state which involves in collecting more taxes, producing more income, and efficiently collects and remits to the central government must be rewarded with more tax revenue by the center. That means the state which collects more revenue, generates more revenue, performs efficiently, should be rewarded with more tax revenue. Now, dear students, now the criteria on which the tax revenue of the center should be shared between the central government and the state governments. Right? What is the proportion of net tax revenue of the central government to be shared with the states? 41% of the total net tax revenue of the center should be shared with the states. Fine? 41%. Now coming to the issue. What are the problems coming up in the devolution of the tax revenues to the state? Dear students, when we said that tax revenues of the central government should be shared between the center and the states, then it does not include the cesses and surcharges of the central government. You must remember this. It is excluded from the tax revenue, cesses and surcharges. Right? Now, there are issues that are cropping up. That is why the southern states are protesting against it. Now, the point is that the first problem, the vertical devolution of the tax revenue to the states should be 41% of the total net tax revenue supposed to be collected and remitted to the state, right, by the central government, right? Whatever central government collects and binding it to be shared with the states, then 41% should be shared with the states. It is a vertical devolution. Now, in the recent 6 finance commissions tenures, instead of 41%, so far the tax revenue, vertically devolved, shared with the states, stands at 32%, not 41%, right? You must remember the vertical devolution of the net tax revenue of the central government with the state government should be 41% as stated by the 15th Finance Commission. But now, for the period 2019 to 20, 21 to 22, 23, 24, the net tax revenue shared with the states stands at 32% in contrast to 41%, right, which is in violation of the principles laid down by the 15th Finance Commission, right? Second, the horizontal devolution of the taxes among the states by the center is more partial, because the center allocated resources to 28 states, right? And the bigger states and the states with the huge population receive more tax revenue from the central government, whereas those states which perform well on demography and also tax efficiency and generation of the tax revenue do not receive the same, right? There was partiality shown by the central government in sharing the tax revenue to the states by focusing 2-3 criteria. First, population, income, and forest cover, and neglecting other criteria such as tax efficiency, demographic performance, and so on, right? Which is completely in violation of the principles laid down by the 15th Finance Commission. Then coming to the southern states which perform well on tax revenue, tax collection, tax generation of the revenue, and also demographic performance, they are good at containing the population growth and also generating more income and collecting more revenue from the people and remitting it to the central government, but they did not receive adequate share from the center, which is completely prejudicial and biased as far as the central government in relation to the southern states are concerned. Now, you must remember the grant in aid. The fourth point, the final point, the issue that you must remember is the southern states which receive the grant in aid to meet the revenue deficit in the form of sector-specific grants and state-specific grants are the grants allocated for the local self-government bodies. They are also not at par with the principles laid down by the Finance Commission. So southern states are being discriminated by the central government as far as the tax revenues are being shared, and also as far as the grant in aid is being shared by the central government with the southern states. Now coming to how do we resolve this issue? Yes, India is following the path of federalism, right? Constitution emphasizes on federalism. But the constitution is more biased in favor of the central government, giving more weightage in the administration, legislation, and also finances. However, it is time for us to introspect, evaluate the position of the central government and the state governments, whether they do justice to the people of this country or not. Therefore, we must resolve this issue by following three measures. By undertaking the following three measures, we can resolve these issues. One, we must increase the vertical devolution of net tax revenue, given by the central government to the state governments, right? From 41% to 60%, at least it has to be increased some 50%, right? That means if you are unable to increase the percentage of the net tax revenue, then include the cesses and the surcharges are collected by the central government so that the net tax revenue would go up, right? Second, grant in aid should also be increased in order to meet the demands of the states, right? And the last is, as far as the Finance Commission is concerned, the states are weak. The states have no say in it. It is the activity of the central government. It is the job of the central government to constitute a Finance Commission, and the recommendation of the Finance Commission is more prejudicial because there is no participation of the state governments in its proceedings, whether it is the constitution or functioning of the Finance Commission. Therefore, like the one you have created for the GST rollout, that is GST Council, by incorporating many states and their representatives, one can think of constituting a Finance Commission with the representation of the state governments, right? That will resolve our problem. So, dear students, you must remember the fiscal federalism should be strong enough so that the political federalism would flourish well. Thank you so much for listening this lecture, and if you have any doubt or clarification, you can put it on the comment box section, and I would be very happy to answer all your queries. Thank you.